Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining the Redington virtual sessions. Today's topic we have from Entrust Datacard on Entrust multi-factor authentication. The session will be led by our pre-sales consultant Naveed. In case you have any questions during the session, I would request you to please put in all your queries in the Q&A tab and Naveed will address them towards the end of the session. Naveed, over to you.
Thank you, Bindya. Hi. Hello, everyone. I hope I'm audible, loud and clear, and even my screen is visible. So today we'll be talking about Entrust Datacard. So I'm not sure if everyone is aware of this product and the solution, but it is in the market since more than 20 years. The name is just multi-factor authentication or identity guard, but it has been known in the market for its core solution of Datacard. So they are known as Datacard. And today's agenda to talk about the different products and solutions that they offer, and what is their strength offering in the market, and how we compete with the other solutions. So Entrust Datacard is founded in US and in 1969, so it's quite an old company. But as the name says, it is a data card manufacturing company. So they originally started with card issuance units. So the smart cards that you see in the market with the identity embedded in them, which can be used for physical access, as well as desktop login, any kind of card. Be it debit, credit, smart card. They still manufacture. They started with manufacturing the cards as well as the issuance units, and they are still doing that. But as they started moving towards the future, they found out that security is an emerging market, and it's still growing, and it is going to grow a lot. So they entered the market of security with something called authentication and authorization solution, which is multi-factor authentication, and that's called identity guard. So the MFA. The company, it is headquartered in USA. It has operations in more than 100 plus countries with around 2,000 plus employees, and now the annual revenue has reached around 1 billion. Okay, so like I said, like we discussed, it started as a data card company, but now it is into identities. So before knowing what is multi-factor authentication, everyone should know what are the challenges that led to this. So most of the time, multi-factor authentication is a key area for financial institutions or banking, insurance, which deals with important documents, important data, and a lot of critical customers. So you can see as the consumers increase with their data, critical data increase, the security as well has to be improved. So if you are just going to depend on the traditional username and password based authentication when it comes to any kind of application, be it banking, be it any kind of website, be it any kind of even your desktop login, you cannot just depend on that. Okay, so username and password is the first level or basic level of authentication and authorization solution. You have to definitely improve on that, add an additional level. So here is where second factor authentication comes up. As you can see, the attacks are also not file based or simple nowadays. You just don't have to, attacks don't happen with just a USB or hard disk or a CD drive connected with a virus, a file based virus. Nowadays the attacks are more advanced. The first, and if you have been following the sophisticated attacks, which are called APTs, advanced persistent threats, the first step in such a multi-staged attack is reconnaissance, which means stealing the identity of any critical employee or important employee of an organization. So this applies to not just financial organizations, but also government and private industries, which are into small and medium businesses and even enterprises. So with the customer criticality and experience, the security should also improve, and it should be simple to use. It should not be complex, and should not add I would say latency to the experience, or should not spoil the experience. Second challenge is security and fraud. Yeah, So security, definitely every organization, be it small or an enterprise level organization, it has to have secure infrastructure, security, a secure posture for its employees and its business. But also, people tend to lose interest or lose focus on the inside of it, okay, or which is mainly called fraud. And that's why there are other solutions in the market, which is UBA, user behavior analytics, or UEBA. That is the term which is which is known to the market for fraud mitigation or insider threat mitigation. So even there, if you are trusting your employees, as well, you need to make sure that you add additional level of security there as well. So for their corporate credentials, you just cannot depend on username and password. You have to have additional level of authentication and authorization measures there. Similarly, yeah, competitive threats. We talked about the attacks. They are not just file based and simple attacks, which are just a file or a malware embedded with a malicious code that can run in your machine or in your application. But they are now human driven, multi-staged attacks. When I say multi-staged, just planting a malware or a malicious file in your enterprise machine is just one step of that. Before that, an attacker or a hacker group itself, they plan the whole attack. They plan, first of all, they set target. It'd be a bank, it'd be a government organization, it could be a defense organization, it could basically targeting an organization or a whole country itself. Okay, and then they will set up an infrastructure for executing the attack. Then that involves different steps like reconnaissance. Then there is weaponization, there is delivery, there is exploitation, command and control, and final actions on objectives. So all these steps basically start with hacking to the organization's network, and that the entry point to it is corporate credentials. Any of the they will to their any of the critical employees' social media account or even their corporate accounts, and they will hijack the employee's machine and will establish foothold there, and then spread silently across the whole network and do a lot of malicious activities that can spoil the reputation as well as cause harm to the business in terms of monetary loss, for example. So these are the most common, and there are more major organizations, be it private, be it public, or be it gone. So Entrust Datacard offers is their solution called Entrust Identity Guard, as you can see on the left. So Entrust Identity Guard is the multi-factor authentication solution, which comes in different flavors. So there is a part of identity and access, which is one pillar of Entrust offerings. Then there is PKI, which is if anyone of you is not aware, PKI is public key infrastructure, which is a whole suite that can help you set up a certain innovation of be certain the Citrix organizations. They set up their own website and then they host them or either publicly on HTTP, which is an open text protocol for accessing websites, and then they secure it with using HTTPS, which is HTTP on SSL. And the encryption, how the encryption happens using HTTPS is through certificates, public and private certificates, asymmetric encryption. So we are not going to go deep into that, but that is how PKI works. So the website is just an application which is secured with the help of certificates. So when you access the website securely, it is going to the session will be encrypted using the digital certificates, and that digital certificate will be provided by Entrust. Similarly, these solutions, identity and access management and PKI, are provided for the customers on cloud as well. This is basically they are the same solutions, but it is also available on cloud. That is another pillar of Entrust. So identity and access management, which is Entrust Identity Guard on premise and on cloud, and PKI, which is on premise as well as on cloud. These are the main offerings for Entrust. Focusing on Entrust Identity Guard, which is our multi-factor authentication solution, you can see there are more than 10 methods that they offer, starting from left to right. If you see, starting from single, they also provide you with simple, password you can use. In most of the corporate organizations, you have seen they have a directory service for users, mainly Active Directory most of the time. So Microsoft Active Directory is nothing but user directory. Active Directory is user directory services, I would say. So they keep all the usernames and credentials, user accounts in the directory service. So that can also be moved to Entrust. Okay, but Entrust will act as a radius server here, and they will keep all the user accounts. So, it will act as application as multi-solution. So the basic username and password authentication can happen either on in your Microsoft or on Entrust Identity Guard radius server. But what MSAD cannot provide you is level of authentication, which is either OTP or different authentication methods that you can see. So, but Entrust Identity Guard can add a second level of authentication, providing you the option for SMS-based OTP or soft token or hardware token, which is nothing but a random 8-digit code which gets updated every 30 seconds and provides you a random code every time. So these kind of different authentication methods can be provided by Entrust. So username and password, device authentication. So device authentication is a certificate is embedded in the device itself, providing you with providing the identity for the device. So any transaction or any application that is run on the device can use the identity of the device without entering any username and password. So the embedded identity of the device can be used to access any application through that device. Similarly, SMS-based, OTP, which I guess most of you know, wherein you try to do a transaction like creating a web login on any of your on any of the publicly available websites, and the website gives you a service to not just enter a username and password every time. It also gives you a random token on your mobile, which is sent through SMS, which you can use to verify your authentication. Similarly, mobile soft token, where the same without SMS, you can, if you don't have SMS service or you don't want to use SMS service, you can use a software which is based on Android or iOS on your mobile phone that generates random digit code, or I would say is updated every 30 seconds. So a code can where you deny, you accept, you ignore for any transaction that you're doing. So when you are doing you're having an account on any of the banks like Saab Bank, for example, and you are using mobile banking or you're using online banking to access the website, to check your account details, to do some transactions. So each and every action that you do can be authenticated and authorized by transaction. For example, if you're trying to download your payslip or you're trying to download your paybook, okay, so this is a critical transaction, so the bank will not just depend on the username and password, because you have already logged into the online banking website using your username and password. So when you're trying to do an important transaction, it will when you're, for example, transferring money or downloading the checkbook or paybook, or you basically will get a notification on your Android or iOS phone saying that do you want to move ahead, and then you have to select accept, deny, or basically show a concern that you want additional level of authentication. I'm not the one who is doing that. Entrust Identity Guard, it is called transaction verification. There are also offline authentication methods like QR code. So you have your soft token on your phone, or you don't have internet access, for example, you can still authenticate on the website or on the application using QR code scanning. So you scan the QR code using your mobile phone and you get a 8-digit code. You can enter that code as a response to the challenge which is generated by the QR code. Similarly, following the concept of device authentication, there is something called identity guard as a part of identity guard, but there's something called secure credentials or smart credentials. Okay, so these are totally depending on device and certificates. So you can embed your applications with the devices on mobiles. Okay, and even you can use as smart cards, physical access. So smart card that you hold when entering your basically entering your organization, and you scan that card at the door of your office. You can use the same smart card embedded in your mobile phone, and you can use NFC or Bluetooth enabled device, POS, physical access devices for scanning your mobile phone and getting access to your office. And similarly, you can embed the digital certificates in your USBs to to authenticate your identity without entering username and password or any kind of token. So you just insert your USB in your machine and you get authenticated, and the identity is embedded in the digital certificate, which is in the USB device. Similarly, you can sign any any document with your identity using again certificates. So this comes under PKI part, which is also used for authentication and authorization, be using device authentication. Then there are other different types of advanced level of authentications like mutual authentication. So if you see mutual authentication, as the name suggests, it is basically authenticating the client as well as the server. So if you can set up authentication. So if you're following a model of client and server based authentication, the application is hosted on a server, and accessing that application is through a client. You can basically set up that once as a client you authenticate yourself using username and password and token, the server should also authenticate to you, so that you are sure that this is not a hacker's infrastructure or hackers or a malicious server or malicious website. So this can also be done. Similarly, these are the advanced levels of authentication, where there's also geolocation identification. So Entrust has a smart engine. I would say it's called adaptive authentication. There is an engine that will also read from where are you trying to authenticate. So if you are a user, so this feature is basically used in banks, for example. Okay, so if you are a user who is located in Saudi Arabia or UAE or anywhere, but you are located at a same place for like 9 months or 10 months, and you have been doing the same transactions, like transferring 10,000 real or $10,000 to to an account somewhere in another in your home country, for example, and you have been doing that same 3-4 transactions every month. And so Entrust adaptive authentication engine is learning that behavior, where what is your username, what is your geolocation, what is even your IP address of the location of the device, what is your it uses OS fingerprinting or mobile device fingerprinting to identify, to learn everything about your device. So what could be the operating system, what is the patch level, what is the browser version that you're using, and it basically forms a baseline or a behavioral understanding of your behavior and your device and even your location. And then if suddenly after 9 or 10 months you are seen in you do a transaction somewhere from across third country, which is not at all related to these transactions. So for example, some from some western country, and that too not just $10,000 or 5,000 real, you're doing $100,000 transfer from your account. So that raises concern. So here apart from username and password and token, Entrust will suggest the bank, I would say the bank's IT admin, to verify the authenticity by personally calling you. So maybe it is you, maybe it is not you. So if it is not you, then definitely it will be stopped, or they will verify, or by personally calling you and checking that is it really you. So this is called adaptive authentication. Then there is grid-based authentication, hardware tokens, even Q&A. which I guess most of you know. So apart from entering username and password, you will be given you will be emailed a grid card which will have rows and columns. And when you enter username and password on a web application, you will be asked to enter the codes in a specific row and a specific column randomly every time. For for example, after entering username and password, you will be asked to enter the code and in row 3, column 2, row 1, column 3, and row 3, column 3. So for example, like that, and you have to enter 3 codes. And this can happen. You can set it up to have card authentication 1 time or 2 times. So this is your problem. Where apart from username and password, you have to have a hardware device, a small device that with a click you can generate random 8-digit code, and it renews every time you click the button. So you can use that as well, or no, this hardware token is it adds additional cost, an additional device, or a critical piece of responsibility yourself. So instead of that, Entrust, they have provided with something called mobile soft token, which we talked. And as everyone is now, very much used to their mobile phones and tablets. Okay, so anyone can lose, even their car keys or home keys, but they wouldn't live without their cell phones. So using that, approach, they have designed the solution where you are using your mobile phone as a token authentication method. So you have to just install a software which is provided by Entrust on your mobile, be it Android or iOS, and you have to integrate that with the Entrust Identity Guard authentication server. And once it is integrated, you can use the token generated by your phone, by the software, basically Entrust software on your phone, to authenticate and authorize with the authentication server. So this basically reduces the cost which is incurred which is incurred when you go for hardware tokens, and it also reduces the the chances of losing your important credentials. Because maybe we have seen this in the past where many people have lost their hardware tokens, and they have to wait for the company to purchase and provide them the new tokens. Yeah. So here, if you lose your phone, you basically can revoke your token, and you can basically, when you buy this new cell phone, you can just reactivate it. Okay. And biometrics, yes, even biometrics, you can basically secure your soft token with with your thumbprint or any of your fingerprints. Now, yeah, so that's what we talked about. So why Entrust has, or how different is Entrust? It is, I would say, they are the innovators of mobile soft token. They started with the approach of using. So even though they are in the market, quite old, and in the MFA market, in the security market since last 20 years, there has not been any a report or compliance sheet that is available for MFA. I would say even Gartner doesn't have a report. So so this is how they stand unique. For mobile innovation, adaptive authentication, even we'll talk about user self-service. This is a unique feature that Entrust Identity Guard provides, and they have an authentication server which is easy to configure. You have to just import your user groups or user accounts from AD, or you can create your own user accounts on Entrust, and you can integrate the different solutions like Windows servers, Windows desktops, web applications, using out-of-the-box integration softwares, or using SDKs and APIs. So it is possible. If it's a readily available integration, it is within clicks of software agents, and if it is not, then you have to develop integration using APIs. So that, I would say, how does it work basically, MFA? So you have you have a requirement. For example, you want to you have VPN access, corporate VPN access to for your remote users or your branch users through any firewall or VPN concentrator, and you just don't want to depend on the username and password. You have to have, like, definitely the firewall would be integrated with the Active Directory or LDAP server in your premises. So you just don't want to depend upon the domain or corporate credentials, but you also want to have a second level of authentication, maybe SMS based token or email based OTP or a soft token or hard token, whatever. So here you have to have basically you have to have the user accounts on your Entrust authentication server. Okay, and then there is another server which is called self-service module or self-service enrollment server. So here the authentication server will act as a server for administrative purposes, and the self-service module will act as a server for the user activities. So the users will be imported from your directory services like AD to your authentication Entrust authentication server, and then the users will be assigned an authentication method like soft token or SMS based OTP or grid card or question and answer, whatever is the second level of authentication that the admin decides. And then they will also create a policy to decide which user group will have which authentication methods and when. Okay, so what kind of activity you're doing at that time, or that activity will be assigned a second level of authentication. So this is where the admin, and even then the logging and reporting, policy configuration, all will be administrative tasks. But then in previous, I would say, traditional solutions, even this is called user enrollment or sorry, user importing or authentication tasks, okay, administrative tasks. So apart from that, in the previous solutions or traditional solutions, even the user factor authentication solution activation would have been administrative tasks. Okay, so just imagine if there is 100 users, the admin has to create their users or import the users and even assign an authentication method and activate it. So that would be a lot of repetitive tasks, manual tasks for the admin that can take a lot of their time. To make it easy or to offload those repetitive tasks to the users, which can take care of their own credentials and their own authentication methods or security questions. Okay, so they created something called self-service module. So here it's basically a web page where you can log in with the user. Now here the user can log in with their corporate credentials rather than administrator providing them with the token assignment or token activation. So the user can log in and they can put their details. Okay, so the admin will receive the username and email ID and group or OU from the AD, but they can assign their in the self-service module, the user can assign additional details like phone number, address, what else, some kind of security questions to verify their authenticity. So if anyone tries to use their credentials in their portal, they will still have to authenticate with the security questions. Now maybe a security image, okay, a unique image that only they know that what this image means. So they can upload an image and say write a comment for that. So when and you have to basically, if someone else tries to use their account, they will not understand what this image or account or comment means. So to basically these are the steps, or these are the measures that user itself can take to verify that they are connecting to the right right application, right self-service module page. It is not a malicious page or a farming website that they're connecting to verify their authenticity and enroll themselves. Okay, so even apart from enrolling, so enrollment means putting their details, putting their security questions, security images, and assigning a token to themselves and activating it. So when the user is assigned a token by the admin, he can activate it using the self-service module. This is called self-enrollment or user self-enrollment. And in case if the user after using the token for a couple of months, if he loses the mobile or uses the hardware token, or loses the token itself in any way, he can revoke it, he can reset it, he can do basically all the user related tasks for his second level authentication method, which is a token or OTP or anything, using this self-enrollment portal. So this basically eases up the tasks for admin and also makes users a bit responsible for their tasks, and they get the flexibility to do whatever they want with their authentication method, but in a secure way. So, like we discussed, there is authentication server, there is self-enrollment module, and these are the two main components. So, and after user users are imported, user accounts created in the authentication server, and enrollment is done. To make them work, authentication and Entrust also provides you with a lot of integrations out of the box. Okay, out of the box means they have software agents available which can be installed on these solutions to integrate with Identity Guard authentication server. So as you can see, there are out of the box integrations with infrastructure solutions like Oracle, Microsoft, SAP, IBM, and even with VPN solutions like Checkpoint, F5, Palo Alto, as well as Fortinet, and so on. Then there is even with mobile, I would say mobile device management solutions, okay, like BlackBerry, McAfee, and so on, and even physical access solutions. So like we discussed, when your phone can act as a smart card, so they can, instead of using a smart card, you can use your phone with NFC enabled phone to just for the physical access points to read the identity of the user from the mobile phone. And then there is application or API or SDK based integration with OA, Microsoft OA, Salesforce, website application on-prem as well as cloud. Then there is a certificate authority, PKI, which Entrust provides. And if you are aware of the major competitors in this market, there is any certificate vendor, okay, so like GoDaddy, Verisign, DigiCert, even Microsoft. So Entrust competes with these solutions in PKI area. Then there is platform-based integration. So majorly known, well-known OS like Red Hat, SUSE, and Microsoft, they have out-of-the-box client-based integration with Entrust Identity Guard. And if at all, there is some custom application that is developed by any customer, they can use make use of Entrust Identity Guard API and develop an integration using the software development kit, or they can go for professional services from Entrust itself, wherein they involve the development team to build an integration between Entrust Identity Guard and their application. Yeah. So, like I said in the beginning, we have on-premise, solution. We have on-cloud solution. Even on-premise, it used to be, I would say, a couple of years ago, as a software version. So you would get, when you go for Entrust Identity Guard solution, you purchase it, you get a software and you get a license. So that software had to be installed depending upon the the operating system where you want to install. So you could install it on Windows, you could install it on Linux, Red Hat, CentOS, Ubuntu, SUSE, depending upon your requirement as an admin. So here, the advantages were that you get the software flexible with your operating system. Or so if you are an organization where you have major servers operating system as Microsoft, you can go for the Entrust Identity Guard software version compatible with MSOS. But or similarly, if you want Red Hat, as you have Red Hat as a major OS in your organization, you can go for that software. And again, the number of users that Entrust Identity Guard authentication server can support. So it could be, easily it goes more than 20,000 users in a single server. Okay, so but this is the advantage of using a software. You get the flexibility to choose the software as per the as per the major operating system version of your organization, based upon the number of users. Okay, if there are a huge number of users, you don't have access. But where on the server where you will be installing Entrust Identity Guard, you will have to install a database. It could be a free version like MySQL or PostgreSQL. It could be an enterprise version like Oracle, what it would be. But admin has to set up the operating system, harden it, then install the database. and then they can decide if it's a physical server or a virtual server, and set up the high availability or disaster recovery measures, take up that measures, and then do all the IT related tasks that can strengthen the security posture of these authentication server. There are few advantages like flexibility and scalability, and few disadvantages, or I would say not disadvantages, dependencies or difficulties when it comes to admin related tasks. It will take some more time and efforts to strengthen the security posture when you install the Entrust server. To ease that, Entrust came up with something called virtual appliance. So it is on an on-premise solution, but here they themselves had packaged the IDG, Identity Guard solution, in a VA or OVA file, I would say. So here you get Entrust Identity Guard software installed on hardened Red Hat Linux with the backend database of Postgres and also Postgres SQL, and then also they provide you with multiple copies of IDG VA, so you can decide which is primary, which is a replica copy, and then it is basically, I would say, it's a well packaged Red Hat OS with a web GUI to configure these, configure logging, to generate reports, and all of admin tasks that you have to do on Entrust, in a package. Here, this is now, the tasks of the admin are offloaded to Entrust. So Entrust took over a lot of tasks and did it for the admin of the customer. Now here, the administrative tasks are only to provide for the virtual infrastructure, not even the hardening of the or the admin related other tasks that are needed when you set up the authentication server. You just have to provide with the virtual space and resources to deploy the VA. So this, I would say the IDG software is suitable for large customers which have their own, compliance regulatory measures, and they want to comply to that, when they install MFA solution. And here, definitely, if you have a huge number of users, like more than 20,000, 25,000 users, you can go for software, because as the number of users increase, you just have to add virtual resources to improve the flexibility and scalability performance of the solution. But VA is suitable for, I would say, small and medium businesses, even enterprises with less than 20,000 users, I would say. So 20,000 users can easily be handled by one IDG VA server. So, and you can manage whatever authentication method you want, like 1,000 users with soft token, 1,000 users with the SMS, and whatever. It gives you flexibility, but like I said, it has a limit of 20,000 users. Yeah. So even though we have software, token as an authentication method, we do provide hardware tokens as well. So these are a few of the examples that which we provide. So there is this is mini token. There is a smart card looking display card token. There's a QR code scanner, and OTP or random token generator hardware token. The most one. So yeah, your phone will act as the hardware token, and definitely, we have seen it from the past experiences that no one would want to lose their phone, or they make sure that they don't lose their phone. Even if they lose their phone, they make sure that the data is secure or backed up. So yeah, that's why we took the the initiative of, or became the innovator for mobile soft token. So here you provide the mobile soft token can provide you with a random 8-digit code or OTP. You can also use the same soft token software for for push notifications. So if you're transacting as a user, you're transacting a sum of money from one account to another, and you want to verify the transaction, you will get a notification like you see here. It is it is like confirm, it is cancel, it is concern. So you can say yes, I am the one who is doing it, or you can say I am not the one who is doing it. And sometimes you can also raise a concern that I would like to do it, but I want something else from in terms of authentication as well. Okay, some other additional levels of authentication. So similarly, transaction. So it's push notification and transaction authentication are same, I would say, but the use case is different. So transaction verification is only for only transactions like online transactions, or any kind of action which is on a web application, I would say. Here, a push notification can also go for VPN authentication or Windows login authentication. Okay, not specifically a transaction. So similarly, verification can happen offline with if you don't have internet, you will not get a push notification. You can do that with offline QR code. And then physical access, logical access, or even even it's like a smart card can be done by the mobile phone using smart credentials. So this is nothing but the MFA solution, but it is certificate based, and it is called Entrust Smart Credentials. And the soft token is a part of MFA offering. Yeah, so these are the well-known use cases where you use your cell phone as the multi-factor authentication method. So you can, if you're using too much of your mobile phone or tablet, you can embed your digital certificate and make use of device authentication for your mobile or tablet, or you can install soft token software on that, and you can use MFA as as a solution for different use cases. Similarly, you have a desktop login or login. Maybe it is Windows or Linux. It doesn't matter. It is agent based, so you can log in using soft token or hardware token, and using a mobile phone as smart card for physical access, for signing important documents, using certificates, verifying the transactions online or offline, and doing the same mobile as a desktop or logical access using push notification, I would say, and even VPN using push notification or OTP or software. So with Entrust, you get the flexibility to decide what authentication method you want for what use case, with the different flexibility to deploy online, offline, and in various ways. Yeah. So moving on to the use cases in detail, this is how the flow is. So if a user wants to log in into SSL VPN portal, or even a client-based VPN client, okay, so he has to enter the username and password, and then push notification will. So this username and password will definitely be verified either by the so as you can see, this is Cisco, so by Cisco ASA or Cisco firewall concentrator using local user database, or the firewall or the VPN concentrator will verify the authenticity using the directory service like MSAD. And then once the username and password are verified, even as the VPN device like firewall is integrated with Entrust, you will also get a push note, a request for second factor authentication by the Entrust, and that will be forwarded to the cell phone. So push notification will be sent to the phone saying that, yeah, is it the one, you are the one who are doing it. So if you say yes, yeah, you will be authenticated. So this provides a better experience, because you don't have to randomly put the 8-digit code. You can just click and say yes, I am the one, or you can deny the request. There will be no hardware tokens, so no additional responsibility, no additional cost, and provisioning will also be easy. Integration is much easier when it comes to mobile software rather than hardware tokens. VPN, web SSL, web-based or client-based VPNs. You can also use web-based applications on premise or on cloud to applicate the same way. Here, I would say this can be done in two ways. So your website login, like MSOA login, can be done using your username and password as first level authentication, and soft token as the second level authentication. But some users, they want for example, they have high they have managers, they have I would say high cadre users which they want to provide a good experience, okay, good user experience. So they don't want to provide them with security, or they want to provide them with better experience. So they can also decide to have username and password. They want to have username and push notification. So they want to stick to first level authentication but a better customer experience. So they can go for name you could confirm mobile device using push notification if they want to do it. If they are the one who is logging into the web application. So here there is one identity and first level authentication, but a better user experience. So similarly, you have two-factor authentication for customers and partner portals. So many e-service or e-commerce vendors, or any kind of organization which have partners and customers, and they have an online website where they all have accounts and they raise requests and do activities there. They can use mobile as as the second level of authentication. So either it could be just username and push notification, or it could be username and OTP, or username, password, and OTP. So first level of authentication with better experience, or to second factor authentication with additional security. Similarly, you can have as a corporate, as an organization where your username uses their corporate credentials for logging into the Windows desktop or Windows server. They can not just use username and password. They can also use grid card based authentication, or hardware token, or software token as additional level of authentication, even push notification. And you get the same identity, better security, and even it works if you're offline. You don't have access to the internet. Yeah, and then traditional smart card based security, where this I believe is not used much, but in organizational plans and security is very critical, so they don't want to use username and password. They just provide them with smart card to connect to the card holder and authenticate. Here you can use mobile phone as a Bluetooth enabled mobile phone to act as a smart card for your user. So thank you. Here we covered what Entrust Identity Guard does, what are the different types of solutions it offers, how are we different, and what kind of offerings we have. So if you have any questions, do let me know.
Yeah, thank you, Naveed. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We hope you have delivered everything you are looking for and answered all your questions. Also, we are having numerous webinar sessions lined up through the month. Kindly look forward the invite shared to you, and you can register to any session you want to attend. Thank you, Naveed. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.